Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are and what time you're watching this. It's another Not Walkin', Walkin' and Talkin' video with your boy, Celine Driver, me. Coming to you with my not copious notes regarding the recent Florida-Missouri football game in 2022, if you're watching this in the future. What did we learn in this game? And now, like the last video, I was actually walking while I was talking, but I didn't have any notes. Kind of hard to walk with notes. So, not walking and talking with the notes. So, Florida played Mizzou. Both of them winless in SEC play up to that point. Not exactly a battle for the ages, not exactly a battle of titans. I didn't get to watch all of the game. I saw, I'd say about 60% of it. This is owing to the fact that I am still working with family. Not only after a major hurricane, but also after the passing of my father. So some things go by the wayside, and college football is one of them. But the Gators did prevail in the game against Missouri, 24-17. At the end of the first quarter, the Gators were up 10-0. At the end of the first half, or end of the second quarter, whichever you prefer, the score was tied 10-10. End of three quarters, the Gators were up 17-10. And at the end of the game, the Gators managed to hang on and win 24-17. If you are a knowledgeable Gator fan and remember you have a memory longer than 3 or 4 years, you remember when Florida would come into the swamp, take teams like this to the woodshed, and run up 35, 40, 45, 50 points on them. And the defense would shut them down, smack them around a little bit, and send them back to their locker room at the end of the game, bleeding, crying, and embarrassed. Those days are gone, at least for the time being. The ghost of Todd Grantham and Dan Mullen are still prevalent in Gainesville. Side note, I understand there's a bright rumor going around that Dan Mullen is being considered for the Georgia Tech job. I only read that in one place. I don't know if it's true or not. Frankly, I don't care. Georgia Tech is an ACC team. I only know of one Georgia Tech fan in my entire life, and that's my buddy Sea-Dog. Shout out to Sea-Dog. But if they want Mullen, they can have him. I hope he hires Todd Grantham along the way. And you can enjoy not having the ability to sign recruits in the state of Georgia like we had in the state of Florida. But on to the game. This was a horrible day for Anthony Richardson, a.k.a. AR-15. Again, acting like he had never seen a football in his life, he went 8 for 14 for 66 yards. 1 touchdown pass, 1 interception. He had 5 rushes for 45 yards, and he lost a fumble. This makes 5 games in a row that Anthony Richardson has turned the ball over, either with Butterfingers or deciding that he'd rather throw to the other team because he likes their jersey color better. Maybe he hates blue. I don't know. Anthony Richardson, as I've said before, and I'll say again many, many times, Anthony Richardson is 2022's version of Trayon Harris. The only difference between Trayon and Anthony is Anthony is bigger. They're both running backs with quarterback shoulder pads. They have no reason to be throwing the ball. Every time Anthony Richardson drops back to pass, I hold my breath. It reminds me of the days of Felipe Franks again. And before him, Jeff Driscoll. And before him, Trayon. And before him, fill in the blank here. We haven't had a decent quarterback except for Will Grier and Kyle Trask since 2008. That's two quarterbacks in, do the quick math, 2008 to 10, 14 years. Two decent quarterbacks in 14 years. All the rest have been scrubs or mediocre or just plain fucking bad. Running game was terrible in the first half. I didn't see a lot of the first half, but I understand the Gator ground game only gained 19 yards in the first half. Now, they ended up with a total of 231 yards at the end of the game of overall rushing. So, obviously, somebody coached them up in the room, and they came out at a better second half. ETN and that other guy, number 2, whose name escapes me at the moment, those guys need touches. Take the pressure off an obviously overmatched AR-15. Run the ball so he doesn't have to throw the ball. It's a simple formula. It may work. Our offensive line is actually a strength on this team. Believe it or not. They run block pretty well, and they're not giving up a lot of sacks. So take advantage of the ability to run the ball behind a pretty good offensive line. You Georgia fans make me laugh. You are screaming about your little midget, what's his name, Bennett, not being able to do the job. Well, put my shoes on for a week or two. You'll be kissing Bennett's ass. At least Bennett somehow has a national championship to his credit. There have been plenty of other Georgia quarterbacks that were better than Bennett. Can't say that. I have plenty of Gator quarterbacks that can't say that. So I'll trade you AR-15 for Stetson Bennett. At least Bennett has the ability to throw the ball every once in a while. Let's see. Field goal. Field goal team needs work. Overall for the year, our field goal kicker is 5 out of 9. During the Missouri game, he was 1 out of 3. He left points on the field. And you're wondering why you're barely winning or barely losing games. I mean, we were in the Tennessee game for most of the game, but we left points on the field. I think we even were in the Kentucky game pretty well, but can't score. You can't even kick field goals consistently. So obviously our special teams need to start recruiting. Thank you, Dan Mullen. You destroyed this team. Well, you had help from McElwain and Moose Dump, who couldn't really recruit either or develop. But Mullen's inability to recruit or unwillingness to recruit reaches a new high in lows. Defense. Inconsistent. 4 sacks. That's good. The bend don't break routine. That's bad. The next several games are going to be tough games. I believe it's LSU comes to Gainesville. That actually, I picked that game as a loss for Florida, but that game actually looks winnable. Winnable, kinda. You got a week off to prepare for the inevitable beatdown at the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. Because unless Georgia's offense really takes a nosedive, Georgia is going to run over the Florida Gators like a semi-truck over a wall of tissue paper. It is going to be ugly. It's going to be ugly. And then I think the next game after that is at Texas A&M. Now, Texas A&M, I picked that game as a loss as well. As a matter of fact, I picked the Gators to lose the next 3 games in a row. The A&M game is probably winnable, maybe a 50-50 shot, but it's in College Station, so that's tough. But we'll see. I just focus on the LSU game. I think the LSU game is now a winnable game. Shout out to my girl Tiger Cat. Love you, TK. But I think your Tigers are going to go down in the swamp, which would be a nice change of pace. But the bend don't break defense against these next 3 teams is not going to work. They got a lot of talent on those teams. Bought and paid for in one case. And bend don't break is going to be bend and break if they don't figure something out real quick. But they are what they are. Defensive line is not very good. Linebackers are playing into form. We did get one of our key secondary players back off of injury for the Missouri game, and it was nice to see him ball out there pretty good. But the secondary's really got to step their game up. Let's see. And that's really all I wrote down. I mean, Florida is now 4-2, 1-2 in conference. They're about where I thought we'd be after the first 6 games. I did predict a loss at Utah, win against Kentucky. We beat Utah, lost to Kentucky. And we have that loss against Tennessee. All of a sudden, somebody lit a fire under Tennessee. All of a sudden, they look pretty good. I think they have Alabama next. I wonder how that's going to turn out. We'll see. Now, I would like to beat LSU. My friend Uncle Lou, shout out to Uncle Lou, does a morning show 4 days a week. He calls it instead of calling it the morning show lately, he calls it the mustard shoe. A dig at the mustard bottle throwing incident last year from a Tennessee game, and the shoe throwing incident a few years ago, which cost the Gators dearly and during the LSU game. He said he would drop the shoe reference if Florida beats LSU. So for no other reason other than it would be nice to see Florida beat LSU, I'd like to see that reference to the shoe game finally exercised from memory. That's all. It never will be, but at least exercised from the morning show. So more of the same from the Florida Gators. They're not a great team. They're a good team. They've got some talent. They've got some players. And depending on where Anthony Richardson goes on the field that particular week, so goes the Florida offense. Got to run the ball. We're developing some receivers. The receivers are beginning to play to form. Hopefully they'll continue to do that if AR-15 can get them the ball. But we got to run the ball more. AR-15's arm is not going to bring us wins. AR-15's feet will bring us wins. Etienne's feet will bring us wins. The other 2 running backs their feet will bring us wins. AR-15's arm is not bringing us wins. Okay? That's what I learned, and I figure a lot of you might agree with me. From the Missouri game, it's good to beat Missouri. I'm always happy. It's good to win anyway, but it's always good to beat Missouri. So take the win and move on. Next opponent is LSU in the swamp. I don't remember what time it is. Pick up the handy dandy phone here. Let's see if there's a line on the game yet. Let's see. It's a 7 o'clock kickoff. It's on ESPN, so national audience. As I'm making this video, there's no line on the game. I suspect Florida will be a slight favorite coming into the game because it's a home game. We'll see. Anyway, that's the way I see it for week 6 of the Florida Gators 2022 season. A mixed bag, but we got to win. That's always a good thing. That's your boy, Celine Driver, and I'm out.